Welcome to Bring Out Your Badass Self, a movement to break your negative thoughts and habits and instead focus on building each other up and encouraging fearless authenticity.
Each week, we will get vulnerable and share experiences alongside our guests and audience. Come rediscover your inner badass self.
Good morning, badass. How are you?
Good morning. Happy New Year, by the way.
Yes. Happy 2024. It's
I know.
It feels like it's been so long since we did this, but also like what a blur. So
I know we took 2 weeks off since we started on St. Patrick's Day in 2023. So we're coming upon in March. It'll be our 1-year anniversary.
yes.
Yeah. But Cate and I needed to replenish. We needed time with family. We needed some time just to decompress. I can tell you, I very much needed to just decompress. And I was just like, nope, we're canceling. Like we had plans. And I was like, Cate, we're not doing it.
Yeah, and it was exactly what I needed as well. So it worked out. And I think in next year we'll just plan on it that way because it's such a hectic time of the year, no matter what.
Exactly.
So it's hard, in my heart, I had this idea, oh, we'll never miss a show, and I had some, I don't know, some little pride associated with it. But then, when Sarah was like, I really think we need to just skip, I'm going to just make the executive decision. Because I wasn't responding and I was like, thank you. Perfect. I'm so fucking busy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I know she won't be upset because we're both exhausted.
Yep. Yep.
Well,
And how,
as you're joining us, let us know that you have joined. Say hello. I know I saw that we had many of our normal regulars were signing up, and then I noticed a lot of new individuals. So I'm excited about today. And Cate, I have to tell you, I told Amanda, our guest, as we'll bring her on here in a minute, I told her that I could not sleep last night. Just was, how you are excited about going on a trip, going to Disney World or going on, some type of vacation, or you're afraid you're going to miss your flight, or that's how it was for me last night. I was so excited that I just don't think that I got any sleep whatsoever.
Oh my gosh. Well, you're going to have to catch up this weekend.
I know.
But that's I love that you were that excited. That's amazing. That's so great. I can't wait for this show either. Amanda's just salt of the earth, good person. You can just feel it. Plus she's got all this crazy knowledge to share, crazy, wicked smart. It's going to be an awesome show.
It is. It is. All right. We have some people saying hello. And so continue to let us know you're here. Eric says, good badass morning, as he says every time. We missed you, Eric. And so glad to see you today.
Yeah. Thank you.
Carrie's coming in. She says, Happy New Year. And why does it feel like New Year's Day was months ago?
I don't know. I feel like this has been the longest week ever.
Yeah.
And it's a short week. It shouldn't feel like that, but yeah, it certainly does. It does feel like I was like, when was New Year's Eve?
When was Christmas?
Yeah. Oh my God.
It feels forever.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, should we get into our badassery and bring our guest on today?
Yeah, definitely. Super excited about it. Let's bring this badass up.
All right, let's do that. So let's welcome to the stage, excuse me, Amanda Horvath. And so Amanda, welcome to the show. And let me get some things rearranged.
Hello. Good morning, all. Thanks for having me. And good morning to everyone in the comments watching on LinkedIn.
Yeah, we got some more people coming in. Gail as well saying good morning. Longest short week ever. And Eric letting us know that he missed us as well. And so, Amanda, I'm super excited to talk to you today. So For those that don't know Amanda, I have actually been following her for a little bit on YouTube. She actually has a YouTube channel, has, I think, over 67 million, or no, sorry, 67,000. I'm manifesting for you. So 67,000 followers on YouTube. And you started down one path, and we're going to talk about that today and how it is that you came successful with what it is that you're doing. And now we're also going to talk about a little bit of the transition as well. So maybe if you can give the audience a little bit of background of who was Amanda and how did you become a YouTuber and how did you get to where you were before you started to make the transition we're going to talk about today?
Absolutely. So my trajectory was the film school trajectory. That's where it all started. I really felt called to video and just knew the power of it. And so I went that direction. Never felt like I fit into that world. The cog in the wheel, stand on set for 15-hour days was just not my jam, but there was still something that I loved. And luckily, due to the timing of it all, it was the DSLR era of the opportunities that were coming out. People were able to film videos not having to have these giant cinematic cameras. And so I was kind of part of the generation that was able to disrupt the advertising market in terms of you don't need to hire an agency anymore. You can actually hire a videographer to work with you. And so I ended up starting my own video production company, doing that for 5 years. And eventually kind of got this whisper in my ear that was like, you should get on camera. You should get on camera. And I was like, no, I'm a behind the camera kind of girl. Like, I don't need to be in front of the camera. But after 2 years of feeling this call, I decided to make it happen. And so and the other side of it was that I knew that I wanted to be a mom, and I wanted to have passive income so that I could have the option to stay at home with my kids. And the business that I was running was very time intensive. It required me showing up. It required me going places. And so I wanted to have this more nomadic lifestyle, which was not as normal at the time, and I had fallen in love with Amy Porterfield, who runs the podcast Online Marketing Made Easy. And she talked about this idea of courses and having online courses and how you can make money online from your living room kind of concept. But you have to have an audience first. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I am going to start my YouTube channel. This is how I'm going to go about it. And so I decided to teach business owners how to create their own videos without breaking the bank or taking up tons of their time. So I started that in 2018, which was perfect timing to give me 2 years of preparation before 2020.
Fuck yeah. Yeah. So, business-wise, it was perfect. It was like the perfect storm you needed.
Yes. And to like plant the seed for later, it was that voice that was guiding me, to say, hey, you should do this. Like, you should get in front of the camera. And the resistance of my mind saying, no, that's not for me. But then listening to it anyway set me up for in January of 2020, I did my first online course launch and not knowing what was happening. And it was I was dedicated to say, okay, all my income is going to come from the online course business this year. I had passed off my entire all my clients to my subcontractor to walk away from that business. So it was a very scary time. And it went incredibly well. The first launch was great. March 2020 came, right? And went all the shutdowns, all the lockdowns. And little did I know, I would have been, completely out of work. Videographers were not shooting videos during that time. So fast forward to May of 2020, I was actually in the midst of my second course launch because I was doing the live launch model with webinars and all that jazz. And I was in a mastermind group and someone said, hey, do you know your human design? And I was like, what's that? And I Googled it just like many of you might do, open up a new tab. What's human design? And looked up my chart, and it was this random thing that didn't make any sense. And I turned to YouTube, as I do, and watched one video on my type and was just immediately hooked. There was something in it that I just saw the truth. I just knew that there was something that I needed to continue peeling back the layers, even though it didn't make sense. And so I ended up booking a reading, and I described that reading as me saying hello. And she explains my entire life story. And it was just like, whoa, this is weird. So I continued through that year of 2020, launching my online course, but now with the recognition and awareness of, maybe I'm following down a path that wasn't designed for me either. Like the course business is very much pitched as this freedom-based business, but in reality, it kind of turns into you working for free in preparation for a launch and then crossing your fingers that it goes well. And so it's just a different game. And so throughout from 2020 to crazy that we're now in 2024, like how has it been 4 years? There's been this slow evolution of, as I have deconditioned to really feel into who my true self is, because that's what human design is. It's a map for returning to your true self, to find your purpose, to get into alignment, which fits perfectly with what you guys talk about on this this live stream. So being authentically yourself.
I love it. I love it. So real quick, we do have Kim coming in. She just wanted to say good morning. Beautiful, badass ladies. And then Carrie is asking a question. Human design is what to search, yes? And so, so a couple of things, just so you know, with the advertisement, there were 3 links that you guys can check out. One of them is Amanda talking about what is human design. The other one is a link to be able to do your own chart. And then I forgot what the other one is. I think it's sort of the basics, but to help our audience, Amanda, can you talk a little bit about just high level, what is human design for those that haven't had a chance to check out those resources?
Yeah, absolutely. So human design is a system that is a synthesis of multiple different systems in one. So it's pulling in the Hindu Brahmin chakra system, as well as a little bit of astrology. So your chart is based on when you were born, which if you're skeptical about it, I say, hey, why not give it a go and look it up, because it's crazy. Okay. I'm telling you. But it's not astrology. There's just astrology elements within it. Then also the I Ching, coming from China, which is essentially an ancient mythology within China that broke down the 64 energies that are available within humans, or everyone can be categorized by these 64 energies. And they each break down into 6 variations of those 64 energies. And that also relates to our genetics, DNA. There's 64 codons with 6 amino acids within it. So it's very much incorporating science as well in it. And then finally, the Kabbalah, or the Tree of Life, which comes from Judaic knowledge and mysticism. And so it pulls all of these different elements into one system, to where you don't need to understand the individual parts necessarily. You get to kind of understand the system. And in that, it begins to decode this map for moving through life without resistance. And it has, at the very top layer, you're going to discover you are one of 4 types. So there are projectors, which Sarah and I are projectors. And these are, we are here to guide energy. We'll kind of get into the details a little bit more. Generators are here to be the doers of the world. So, and this includes the subtype, which is manifesting generators, which Cate is a manifesting generator. And they're the gladiators of the world. They can take an idea to reality very quickly. And they're here to be the doers. So generators are here to do, execute, continue going, assuming that they're doing something that you love.
Mm.
If you do something you hate, it's like a leak in your tank and you're just going to burn out. So 70% of the population are actually generators. So the world is really made for generators. And then Sarah and I are like feeding off of generator energy, as well as the two other types, which are manifestors, who are here to really they're here to say, let's go this direction, and then get other people impact those that see that as being a direction for us to go, and get generators in place to be able to kind of execute on it, assuming that those generators want to execute on that idea, because that is necessary as well. And then there's reflectors, and reflectors are 1% of the population, incredibly rare. And they kind of take it all in. They're very sensitive to energy. They're very sensitive to the environment. And they have this ability to reflect society and the state of society. And so those are the 4 types. And then within that, there's a ton of differentiation that you can get into in terms of understanding your unique gifts and traits, and where you're impacted by others, and the life purpose that you're here, your life, is here, you're supposed to take on. So there's many different qualities to it, but that's a very high level of what human design is.
I love it. There is a lot
Thank
in there
you.
that I hadn't actually received, so I've been reading up on it, but there was a lot in just the beginning description of how it was brought together in all of the different areas.
Yeah.
That was really helpful to understand. So that's great. And so hopefully, Carrie, that provided you a little bit more information, as well as our audience. I know it provided me even more information about it as well. And so Carrie said, I'm stoked to get into this. And so Amanda, let's maybe talk a little bit more about storytelling. So maybe give some examples you can use, whether it's you or me and Cate, or maybe experiences with other people, just to help people understand a little bit more about human design and how it can really impact their life.
Absolutely. So what's so cool about this system is that you can use it within relationships, within business, within parenting. Like it's super powerful within self-development and tuning into, like reducing anxiety, overcoming melancholy, like any of these elements. There's so many different elements that you can dive into it from. So I'll let you guys choose. Which one should we start with? Should we go business? Should we go relationships? Should we go parenting?
What do you think, Cate?
Well, the first thing that popped up were the first questions, and so this might veer us totally in a weird direction, but I was like, so if Amanda has all this knowledge, and she's had this knowledge, when you were giving birth to your kiddo, were you like, okay, now I know like, did you literally do human design when you were like in labor, or were you thinking about it?
Okay, so great. That's so funny. Okay. First off, I will have a 2-year-old in March. So he's just shy of 2. And I went a full 42 weeks. It was like, the waiting period was very long, because the waiting period, starts around like 37 weeks or even earlier. And so I was consistently like, well, what if I had the baby today? What would it be if I had the baby tomorrow? I was like, oh, maybe I should try to keep it in a little bit longer and have this, and we can't. That's what I was. Yeah. We can't play God. That's a part of it. But it's like the second that I ended up with an emergency C-section after like 36 hours of labor, which was actually fine. It wasn't a traumatic experience. I did hypnobirthing. It was actually amazing. But I immediately, it's like, all right, what's the time? Like, let's plug this in. Let's take a look at his chart. And I think the thing that freaks people out about that is they think, oh, you are probably putting labels on a child very early on and maybe influencing their path. And it's not that at all. What human design is merely it's an experiment. So it is encouraged to be skeptical about this system. Anything that I say today, don't believe it. Go try it on for yourself, right? If you look up your type and you hear something that I say about your type, or something that we point out in Cate or Sarah's chart relates to your chart, and you try it on, be skeptical. And so with how I've used it in parenting is, it's like, I see on paper what the energy is that my son has. I see how his energy impacts me and my husband, and how it shifts the dynamic between us. And I can begin to pay attention to it. But it's merely an observation to say, oh, this is natural for him. And I'm watching it unfold. And I'm not going to make him wrong for it.
I'm going to accept it immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Because
so much of parenting is accepting, right?
Exactly.
Radical acceptance of this personality that's just now in your face for your whole life.
Yeah. And it changes you. It changes you.
Right.
It changes your frequency. It changes the access the energy that you have within your home. Like, there's so much more that comes with that transition into motherhood that, people say it's one of the hardest transitions you'll ever go through. And I think having human design behind me gave me that permission or gave me a different perspective on how to process it. So.
Yeah. That's cool. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I just had to get that out.
No, I love it.
I love that question.
Yeah.
Well, so Cate, I was thinking about maybe pulling up your chart. Would you want to focus a little bit on the personal side, the business side, or the parenting side? What do you think?
Personal, I think that would be fun.
Okay. All right. Let me bring this up. So this is Cate.
So a lot of you immediately are probably like, what the heck? What kind of voodoo stuff they're getting into? What are we doing here? And I just want to start by saying, like, it's completely normal to be totally confused at the beginning of this. And what's beautiful about it is actually, like, even within this session, you'll learn stuff to where you'll be able to look at any chart and be able to pull out this quality. So if you pull your kids' charts, if you pull your significant others' charts, your business partners, you'll be like, oh, this is how they're different. And at a very, very basic level, you start by looking at the colors. Okay. Any color is where you impact others. Anything that is white is where you receive energy from others.
Oh, okay.
The white are usually the traps in your life initially, and then over time they become wisdom. So they're traps because they pull you away from making decisions correctly as yourself, in that it's the areas that you get impacted by others. And instead of making that decision for yourself, you follow that other person's energy and what would be right for them. So human design comes down to decision making. It's every moment in time we have the opportunity to make a decision that moves us either closer to alignment or further away from it.
Yeah.
So I would say the first, like, starting with the white can actually be really, really beneficial.
Okay.
So, and I would encourage anyone that's listening to pull up your chart and put it in the chat. What are you? Are you a projector? Are you a manifesting generator? A generator, manifester, all the things. And maybe we have some lone reflectors out there.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
And so we noticed that Cate had an open root chakra. We were talking about this earlier. And one of the things that you had said, because I said, oh, Kate's always late to meetings. You were like, oh, she might have an open, or she probably has an open root chakra. And then when we checked, she did.
Yeah, I actually thought she might have it defined, and then she has it open. So it broke my theory. But so the root is all about stress. It's how you manage stress and pressure.
Okay.
And when it's undefined, you have an inconsistent way of processing stress.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of
And
sense.
it is kind of like, I like to think about it as like espresso or cocaine frequency. Like it is like it's adrenalized energy. It is, you take a shot of espresso, you can go until that adrenaline runs out, right? It cannot go forever. And so what happens is when it's defined, you have a consistent way of dealing with pressure. And so if you look at children, like those kids that have it defined, like they can consistently kind of process through things. But when it's undefined, there's less of that. And undefined being white, defined being colored in. So what happens, there's a question to ask for each of the open centers that when you ask this question, it helps you distinguish between, am I acting on someone else's energy or am I acting on my own? And the question is, am I rushing through this task to get rid of the pressure of it on my to-do list? And so people with an open root, they go. Like, I got to get this done. I got to get this done. I got to get this done. But it's a false understanding because when you finish one task, there's always going to be another task added to your plate.
Yeah.
And so when you're rushing to get something done, the goal of this question is to catch yourself and say, wait, this is actually my not self. You're here to be wise to the pace of life.
Okay.
Like wise to letting the energy flow through you instead of acting on the need to rush through things. And it doesn't mean that you won't rush through things necessarily, but it's like you don't want to make decisions from that place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's super interesting for me. Thank you. Because even in the smallest task, my mind always goes to efficiency, right? Like, or speed, like, so like one small example, last night, I took my aunt who lives with us shopping, and she's 70, and she might even be on. And I realized after the fact, but I was like, go ahead and get in the car. I'll load these groceries in. And part of that is just me being like, I want to help. And you're 70. You don't need to do this. You're cold. It's Wisconsin. And then the other part of me is, it takes you longer to get in the car. So I want you to get a move on it. I want you to fucking start going. And I don't, but I didn't realize that at the time. I felt like I was almost being like gentlemanly, like, and we joked about it. Cause I was like, you know what, Tia, I'm used to treating ladies like ladies. So get in the car so I can load the stuff. And we were just dying because it was very fun to play around with the gender roles, right? So we were laughing about it. But afterwards, as I was thinking about it, I'm like, I know why I was really pushing her. I wanted the speed. And there was no reason for speed, like at all. There was, but there's just this like inner drive for me to do it faster in all situations.
My mom has an open root, and it goes into every area of your life. Once you see this information, and by the way, anyone in the chat, like if you have looked up your chart, you can say, do you have a defined or undefined root? Is it white in your chart or is it colored in? And so you can begin to apply this to your own life as well. So my mom has a white root as well. So it's the very bottom one. Maybe you should point it out for everyone on the chart. So the very, very bottom square.
Ooh. So Carrie added in more information. So this white one down here at the bottom, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse.
We can.
But down here, this one's open. And then she has another open one here where all the rest of these are colored in and defined.
Yes. So my mom has it white within her chart and never does a normal load of laundry. They are all speed washes. And it's so funny. It's like, and you put pressure. What happens when you have an open root, you kind of look at other people like you need to move faster. But really what's probably happening is you look at other people and they're probably pacing themselves accurately.
Right.
So the open root gets a job I mean, like your boss comes in on a Monday morning and says, "Hey, we need to get this done by Friday." That stress, you take on that stress, and you don't want that stress on your plate, so you get it done in 3 hours. And then they notice, "Oh, she's already done. So let me give her another task, and let me shorten the time frame that she has to do that task." And now you're just living in stress.
Oh gosh, I'm imagining Amy, who we work with, because this is how she is. And so, Amy, if you're on, I'm curious if you have an open root chakra.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, Gail said that she was a 5-1. So, Gail, I'm curious if you have an open root chakra or which ones are open. Cate, so Carrie added in like all the information. And so also understanding, Carrie, what your, what's open, what's defined, what's undefined. So she has a 2-4, and she is also
2-4
a
generator.
generator. So Gail and Carrie are generators.
Yes. And has the same authority as both of you, which we can totally talk about too.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I'm going to switch over to mine just so you can see the contrast of Cate. So you can see all of the centers that are filled in, and then you look at mine, and I have less. So I still have some, but I have more that are undefined.
Awesome.
And so Gail said her root chakra is filled in brown.
So she has more of a consistent pace. She paces herself a little bit more and has a consistent way of dealing with pressure.
Yes.
Now for yours, right? The white,
Mm-hmm.
what makes you a projector, and there's non-sacral, anyone that has this open within their chart, which will be only less than 30% of the population. So some of you might not have it. So Carrie, we know you're a generator. You're not going to have this white within your chart, but this will help you understand maybe those around you that react in this similar way. And same with Gail. So the one that is right above the root is the sacral. And the sacral, the question for that is, do I know when enough is enough? And the reason for that is because all generators have that center defined. That is what makes a generator. So when we say 70% of the population are generators, all it means is that they have that one center defined. That's what makes you a generator. So generators are here to be the life force energy. They bring, like, life comes to you. Cate, you have an open and enveloping aura. Life is pulled to you. Same with Gail, same with Carrie. And if you're living in your satisfied energy often, then life comes to you more, like more opportunities come to you. If you're in that frustrated state where there's just a lot on your plate and you're feeling like very pulled down, you're in that burnout, it's like people see it and they're like, not going to add anything to her plate. Like we're gonna so doing an assessment as a generator of like, what do I love to do in my life? What do I have to do? What do I hate doing? Like understanding those things can really help you almost declutter your life so that you have more of those things that are satisfying, because that's going to help not only you, but everyone around you as well. Because people like Sarah and I, projectors, as well as manifestors and reflectors, take in that sacral energy through this center, the second one up from the top. We take it into our bodies and we live on it. Like we couldn't live without it. It's what gives us energy. It's what makes us be able to play the game of life. And we can, what happens is whenever you have a white center, it actually comes into your body and it's like you amplify that energy. So if you think about a guitar, you strum a guitar, it's quiet. When you plug it into an amp, it can be 10x as loud, right? And so that's what happens is we take it in and it's like now we become the super slaves, super doers, and we can go and we can make it happen. So you're going to rush through tasks to get rid of the pressure and not know when enough is enough. And these are going to be your traps that will pull you away from your aligned self, Sarah. And so it's like learning to become wise to, as you move through the day, like Do I know when enough is enough? The answer is no, never. I don't. It's really hard to know. You just want to keep going. But in that moment, you catch yourself and you're like, okay, you know what? Like, let me step away from the computer. Let me put my feet on the earth for a second. Like, let me tap in. Like, maybe I do need to stop, and you get better at that with time. And we're really here to feel generators, but we're not here to be the doer. We're here to guide the energy. So we're here to recognize what kind of generators you are, because how that center becomes defined is that there's going to be a channel, which is two centers connecting together with a line between it that will be defined. And there's many different options for how that sacral can be defined. And so projectors are here to be really wise to it. Feel it. I can feel it in my body, what it feels like to be with this kind of generator, this kind of generator. And then we can give, when invited, we can give guidance in terms of, hey, I'm recognizing this frustration that is occurring because I can feel it in my body. And I would like to offer you some guidance around how we could create a system that would make this more efficient so that you don't deal with so much frustration. Projectors are all about systems. We love it. We love psychology. We love understanding the other. We understand other people more than we understand ourselves. It's nearly impossible to put your finger on who you are as a projector. We're here to know the other, while the generator is here to know themselves. So it's a perfect peanut butter and chocolate combination, projectors and generators.
Yeah. That makes so much sense from what I know of Sarah, and for where she really shines as a in the business world, as a manager. She like focuses so heavily on elevating the people below her, the people that she manages. It's like her entire mission is to help all of us continue to walk the ladder, or to gain those skills, to elevate us. So that's
awesome.
kind of where that comes from, right?
Yes. And she also, there's other places where that comes from too, but definitely from the guiding perspective, for sure.
Awesome.
I feel like there's something you're not saying. What are you not saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so the way that I kind of see human design is, it's like, you have to remember once again, like, none of these are labels. Try it on, right? So if you have a defined root and you look up your kids and they have an undefined root and they're running around and they're mad that you're not moving fast enough, right? It's like, no, that's actually your impact on them, right? That's causing them to run around and do it. It's helping them slow down, helping them pay attention, and not making decisions from that place. But also, like, you have a consistent way of dealing with pressure if you have it defined, and that's like, and it's actually healthy for you to be in stress. Like, you actually love working from a place of adrenalized energy, and that's healthy for you, right? So I like to think about it, while they're not labels, it's like buckets in a way of like, oh, I resonate with being a generator, so I fall into the bucket of being a generator. I resonate with having a defined root, so I fall into the bucket of having a defined root. Well, there's this other three categories specifically that come from the I Ching, which is the 64 energies that Chinese culture determined that there are these are the traits of all human beings, these 64 qualities. So they fall into three categories. There are individuals that are here to be incredibly mutative, very change oriented in a way. Okay. Like, how can we bring about something new into the world? And there can be this like melancholic feeling that can come. And Cate, you have this in your chart. You both have this in your chart, Sarah as well. And it's harder to point out who has it in the chart. If you say your channels, I can tell you if you have it or not. You're welcome to do that, which are the lines that connect one another, but it's a little harder to point out because there's many different opportunities for it. So the individual, there's like this feeling of like, when's something gonna happen? I want something to happen. Like I'm bored out of my mind. Like we gotta do something. I gotta have like, give me that next like hit, that next aha moment, that next feeling. It's almost like chasing this like mutative quality. They say that a lot of mutative people are the ones that are like, the world might end. Like this is exciting. It's happening. Like we're having movement forward. And so the challenging part about it is that we can't control when something happens. We can't control when an aha moment comes through. And so there's a melancholy nature that can come with it where it's like, Eeyore, I guess I'll go to the birthday party, kind of energy. Or it's like the mundane life can feel very mundane and uncomfortable to a degree. Now, on the flip side, like if you gave the example of a caveman sitting outside of his cave, bored out of his mind because nothing's happening. He's tired of living in caves. He wants something to change. He wants life to be different. He rubs two rocks together and boom, there's a spark. Like the individual lives for that spark. And then the collective, which is the second group, takes that spark and they turn it into a fire. They tend the fire. They chop wood for the fire. There's so many jobs to maintain the fire. They're never bored because there's always something to do. So they take innovation and they make it better through either talking about logical arguments for how to make something better or experiencing it. And then there's the tribe. And this is the quality that I was mentioned previously, suppressing in Sarah. So you were also collective. Cate, you are not? Nope, you are. Sorry. You do have that. So actually, you each have individual, tribal, and collective, which is very unusual to have. Well, it's not very unusual, but it's more unusual to have all three. Like, for example, me, I'm 100% individual. And you know that by the channels that you have. So if you only have one channel, you're only going to have one quality. So I only have one channel. So collective-wise, Cate, you are logical, collective. And Sarah, you are experiential collective, which is like more abstract. It's more about like, I like to use the example of like Christianity. You're either the Bible thumper and you're going to give verses for the logical argument of why God exists, or I just felt the Holy Spirit move through me, and it's like, so I believe. Right. So Sarah's more on that side and Cate's more on the logical side. Right. So obviously it goes outside of just that. Right. But trying to understand versus it was just an experience that I had and it just feels good. Right. It just makes sense. While the individual has a knowing, it's like, I just know this is it. And there's no logic. It's just a knowing. Okay, so the final one, tribal, is all about making babies, raising babies, making money for the family, going up the hierarchy within business, climbing the ranks, like who is in what role, are they in the right role? Does everyone have what they need? It's very much about the tribe in terms of who is in my tribe, who is out of my tribe. Can I touch you? Like, are you close enough to touch? Do you smell like me? There's like very much like this energy of like, these are my people. And so both of you have a tribal quality to you in terms of being very community oriented, very much apart, seeking a whole is what they say. And if you pull up the chart, I can show you which one it is. Yeah. It's the 4037, which is going from the solar plexus, the triangle over on the right hand side, up to the smaller triangle right above it, which is the ego. And so the right triangle all the way to the right, going up to the one right above it, the ego.
Oh, the ego. Yeah.
So that is the channel of the family. and community. And it's about like the best thing that you could have is like sitting around the table and talking with one another. Like it's often about food. It's also about the bargain, like making sure we're holding up our end of the bargain. Like I do this, you do this, we have a good bargain, like this is it's going to go well. But if there's not, there's emotions attached to it. It's like, like you didn't hold up your side of the bargain. This is not okay. And that's where both of your emotional wave comes through in terms of the explosions of a frequency that is operating within you, that the emotions. So as you can see, that you can go a lot of different directions with, with this stuff.
So I'm
So
curious.
cool.
My husband's is undefined on the ego.
Emotions? Or the ego?
Yeah, on the ego.
Okay.
What does that mean?
So once again, the ego, for those of you, and you can put in the chart, like, do you have this defined or undefined, or you put in the chat. It's the small triangle up to the right that they have the 4037. You can see those numbers. They're pretty small, but that the ego, when it's white within your chart, the question to ask is, do I think I have something to prove? And it's very real.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of these open centers are essentially pulling you away from acting, like making decisions correctly as yourself. So what happens, I have an undefined ego. So what happens is, let's say an opportunity comes up, I'm invited to do something, and my energy is like, do not take that on. You have a max capacity, you've hit it. There's no way that you can do this, but it's a really big client. And I really feel like if I got this client, then I could have, a cool name on my website and all the things. And so in that moment, you're supposed to ask the question, do I think I have something to prove? Like, am I about to make this decision because I have something to prove? Or am I, and like, or does it actually feel aligned? And so asking that question can really help you gain that awareness. And so when he's around you, and Cate, your wife might, if she has it undefined, she would experience this too. The defined ego is, so if it's colored in your chart, you have a very healthy self-esteem that can rub people the wrong way. It's like people want to cut down that ego. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you have such an ego. That whole concept that people say, it is that. It's like, but it's actually healthy for some people to have a healthy ego, healthy sense of self-esteem, because you are here to prove something. There is an element of, like I like to use the example of Navy SEALs. We need Navy SEALs in the world that are willing to go do certain things that other people don't want to do, and they're here to prove the mental, physical, emotional strength that they have to be able to get something done. Others of us are not, we're not here to do that. So yeah, if you have that white within your chart, ask yourself that question before you make a business decision, before you, say yes to an event that you got invited to, like whatever it is, right? Like it's really powerful.
So what does that process look like for you, Amanda? Like, do you literally like ask yourself, like, just tell me a little bit more?
Yeah. So in my chart, I have 7 white centers. Okay. So there's a lot of white, which means I'm very vulnerable to external influence. And so I've slowly moved through all of these questions to ask, do I know when enough is enough? Do I think I have something to prove? And all the other ones as well. And so, for example, I have been, one of the major focuses for me right now. So y'all had alluded to my business kind of shifting a little bit, right? So I started in video marketing, and now it's kind of like this human design stuff has come up, and throughout the past 4 years become a very integral part of my life to where I can't not talk about it. It's like I'm overflowing with information. So the throat center, the question when it's white within your chart is, am I trying to attract attention? You both have it defined. So you both have a consistent way of communicating. Anytime something is colored in, it's consistency. So I have it open. Am I trying to attract attention? Is a very interesting question that I've been reflecting upon. And that's an interesting one because it's like, well, when you have an online presence, isn't that kind of what you're trying to do to a degree? And then tie that with, do I think I have something to prove? Right? It's like, oh, am I trying to grow a big YouTube following because I think I have something to prove? Or am I going down this route of X, Y, and Z because I think I have something to prove? So I've posted consistently for 5.5 years. So I loved y'all's conversation that you gave yourself a break over the holidays. Weekly content, weekly YouTube videos. And I have not posted since mid-October because I'm currently deconditioning my throat center and really feeling into, like, when I'm in a group of people, what comes out? Am I trying to attract attention? In what I'm talking about online as well? Is it trying to attract attention, or is it coming from a place of true self where it's like, I am really being guided by my inner guidance system, which is how you make decisions, to share this wisdom? And so it's been a very powerful and interesting reflection period. So I have nothing to prove is a big thing to say when you have an undefined ego. So like me not posting since mid-October, I ain't got nothing to prove. It's fine. You know what I mean? Like the right people will come to me already. I don't need to prove anything, you know? So it's like releases a certain frequency, and it's like kind of like an ego death, you know? You have to kind of like let go of a certain side of it. And I will come back. There's a lot happening behind the scenes, but yeah, it's felt really good. It's an example.
Yeah.
Really exciting sounding.
By the way, I do have Jenna's chart, Cate. So
okay.
her ego is also undefined.
Okay.
So
you both have undefined significant others.
Yes.
Interesting.
Ego. Yeah. Which becomes, do you both feel that there's a rub there in your relationship at all? Do they feel competitive to you at all? That would be kind of a way to.
I do wonder. I wonder. There are times when Jenna has said, like, I don't know why you didn't come to me to ask that question, or I have knowledge around this and you just sought it somewhere else, or I just have this like knowing of how I want to do things, you know? So that could be. I want to think about it a little bit more and reflect on it.
I think the things that Jay is really good at, I am definitely not good at. So I'm like, by all means.
Right.
However, I do have to say that Jay does constantly say that he feels like the bitch in the family, instead of me. And so just because our roles are a little bit switched in, you know, like I'm very focused on my business and things like that, and he tends to do what would stereotypically be more the female role of things within our family. But I think he has a pretty strong ego, because there are a lot of men that couldn't be in his position,
right,
that he is in. So
that's a good point. And this channel, the 4037 that you both have, is very much can show up as the provider. It's like wanting to provide for the whole, wanting to work. It's a love of work. Cate 40 is the love of work, which you both have.
Yeah. And I think Sarah and I, we definitely have that. I mean, my role in my family and my tribe, when you were talking about that, providing, I mean, that is so ingrained in me. I mean, that is when I do start to question whether I'm doing the right thing by my family, like financially or other decisions. And if something doesn't feel quite right, or if I have stress around that, nothing really affects me more than that. You know, like that is one of the hardest things for me to do is to feel like I'm not providing, or I'm not giving them everything that they need or even want, you know? So like
and and the ego needs to rest. So it's also the center for willpower.
Mm.
I will do something, and because I said I will, you follow through. But willpower runs out. You can't always draw on it. So the only center that has consistent energy that can keep going and going and going is that sacral.
Mm-hmm.
So the ego needs to rest. It needs to accomplish something. It needs to fulfill on something, and then it needs to take a break. Like it can't keep going. Right. So Sarah, you're a projector. You're an energy projector
Mm-hmm.
because you have the ego defined as well as the solar plexus, which is the one below it.
Mm.
But you don't have that sacral, right? So you will feel like you have less energy than Cate,
Mm-hmm.
but you still have energy. You don't resonate with having zero energy, right?
Mhm.
But it needs to rest.
I have found that very much, and I will take time because I found that my body will make me rest. Like something will happen, be like, well, I was trying to give you warnings that you need to take a break. And so whenever I ignore those warnings, then it sort of does it for me. And so I've really learned to understand when. That's why I was at the end of the year, I was like, nope, I'm just gonna say no, and so we're not gonna do these last two shows. We need to have a break. We need to have some time off, and that's actually one of the things I really try to focus on, even internally, as well, is getting people to set boundaries, because that's one of the things that I've found super important for me, is setting boundaries for myself on when enough is enough, knowing when to not be that people pleaser, and knowing when you need to focus on you or focus on just taking a break. So
Well, yeah. Congratulations for getting to that. Yeah, exactly. It's not easy to set those boundaries and to realize, oh, wow, other people don't struggle with it in the same way that I do if they're a generator. That's been the huge realization for me as being a projector. It's like, oh, wow. Like in my experience of the world, if you're a projector, it's so different. You are a different being. And if you're a manifestor, reflector, same situation, and it's so like you need extra rest compared to any other type. If you burn out, it takes you twice as long to recover.
Yeah.
And burnout can lead to serious health issues.
Agreed.
And heart
Interesting.
issues. A lot of the human design also relates to health in terms of each center, which are these centers the things that we're talking about, the chakras relate to a biological function within the body. So the ego is the heart. So a lot of people that have they don't allow that rest to take place can end up with a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
They're pushing themselves too hard.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Mhm. I just had this huge realization. I've always kind of known. So I have this left foot that I've broken that leg or foot like 6 times, nothing else. I've never broken another bone. I honestly, other than being overweight, I don't have like a ton of health concerns at all. And one of the big breaks was in 2009. And so I always have said, like, had I not done that, even though it made a mess of so many things in my life, because I had to have like 5 surgeries to correct this break. Right. But
oh my gosh,
that time when I was down was when I realized how much I really needed and wanted my wife. Right. And and what I needed to say to her to like, let her know, that this was the path I wanted. And I know that I would not have had that had I not been in a bed, unable to do a whole lot of shit and just in my head for days on end. Right. And then I just had this realization, like, okay, yeah, that was huge. And I've always said that. But when I look at the other injuries I had, so when I look at the one in 21, something really huge happened right after that. And it introduced me to like this therapy that has changed my life. And when I go back to like one of the big injuries I had before '09, when I was still in college, all of a sudden I realized I was gay, like, so there was like,
Wow.
like, so there were these three huge things. And so I wonder if it was almost something like what Sarah was saying, like my body literally had to break itself to like give myself the space to find something new that was really like a huge aha.
Yeah. The reason that I have been in retreat on this YouTube channel is because of gate 33, which you have in your chart. It's the gate of retreat.
Okay.
And there's 3 alone charts within the gate. Gate 33, gate 40, which you both have. And actually you both have 33 as well. So Sarah, you'll resonate with this as well. But there is this need to retreat, to reflect, to soak in the wisdom of previous experiences, to gain, not necessarily even to gain clarity, but to bring an experience to a close. And so I could see like that is in your moon, which is what drives you. And so when you're getting caught up in rushing through the task to get rid of the pressure, right? Then you're not going to connect to it as much, right?
Right.
And you'll be caught up in this kind of like go energy versus having to sit. And the other thing is like generators, especially manifesting generators, and really all of us, we're taught go out and do anything that you want in the world, when in reality all types other than manifestors are meant to sit back and wait for life to come to them. And so when you slow down, life begins to come to you and you're not initiating. And so a lot can happen. So that's beautiful that you've had that experience of what life looks like when you do slow down. And so now beginning to test it without having an injury could be
Right.
Something to experiment with.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And Jenna and I have experienced that in our relationship and our parenting as well, which is why we rely very heavily on breaks away from our kiddos. And we joke and we say like, yeah, they're always near with us because we do homeschool. But when we have that separation and take the time away from them and are able to focus on each other and ourselves, it's like so rejuvenating, like beyond rejuvenating for us, because we can come back full force, and we always have these ahas, and we need it. Otherwise we won't stop. Like we won't stop giving them our everything. We have to like physically remove ourselves in order to like stop.
Yeah.
That's good awareness. Really good awareness.
Well, Amanda, I want to be respectful of your time. We're a little bit, beyond the hour. We tend to go about an hour 15. So I want to sort of start to wrap things up a little bit, because I know that we'll just keep going all day if you allow us. And so I do want to pull up a couple of comments that have come in. So Tasha said that happened to me when I had my accident. So Tasha actually just recently did a TED Talk on her experience and the things that she discovered as well. So I know that was something that very much impacted her, and so I'd be curious what her chart is. Carrie does have a question. She wanted to know, what do numbers in purple circles mean?
Yeah, so the colors in the chart, other than the red and black, don't mean anything. I don't really understand why they make them different, because it just confuses people. But in some ways, I guess I understand to a degree. But so the purple circles within the centers, that just means it's activated. So you can see any one that has a line coming out of it has a purple circle around it. And we refer to those numbers as gates. And those gates come from the I Ching, which is the Chinese 64 variations. So there's 64 gates. And when the two gates come together on either side of a channel or a center, like on from one center to the other, connecting the two together, that's what forms a channel. And it really is like a third thing that gets created. So you have one individual gate that shows up a little bit differently when it's only one gate. Then you have the other side that shows up as its own. And then you have a third thing that when they come together, it creates like a new energy. And there's 36 of them, half of 64, I'm guessing. No, I guess it's not half of 60. Anyway. So that comes from the Kabbalah in the Tree of Life, 36 gates and channels. And
so as an example, this channel here. So yeah, so I can't remember. I can't see the number, but so connecting the ego to which one is this?
The solar plexus.
So the solar. Yep. So this one is filled in for mine, but if we go back to Cate, she only has half of it filled in.
Okay. Yeah. So you're talking about the center to the left, the triangle. Yes. That is the spleen.
Spleen. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So that is the center for, it's really your immune system. It's about survival. It's about instinct. It's about intuition. So it's like, in a way, intuition for how to survive. And it has different ways of showing up. What happens is when it's white, it can feel very insecure, and it actually can almost leech on to someone that has it defined, because when you have a vulnerable immune system, it can feel very uncomfortable. And so you want to make sure you have that security. And so the question for this center is, am I holding on to something I should let go of? So people with an undefined center, they can often stay in a relationship longer than they should, stay and living in a house longer than they should, in a job longer than they should. And so asking that question can help them determine, am I acting from what's right for me, or am I getting pulled into the not self, into the white areas of my chart? So you have it defined, Sarah. So you have a consistent experience of your intuition of what's healthy for you. Cate does not.
Yeah, and Cate, by the way, Jenna does not either.
Yeah, just hearing Amanda talk, I was like, I don't think I have that, or Jenna.
Yeah. And my husband does.
Yeah.
And so
and how he has it defined might be different. So yours is defined tribally through the 4426, that channel that you mentioned that Cate has half of it. You have the full thing. Is the sales and marketing channel, one of my faves. Yeah, and it's intuition for how to sell.
Wait, which one is?
If you go back to your chart.
Oh, gotcha.
The one that connects the spleen to the ego. So it's intuition fueling the ego. Really, if you're looking at it, but it's also like instinct for really how to bring out a mass message to the tribe. I like to think about it from the lens of like, if a tribe has grazed all the grass on this side of the mountain and they need to get across the mountain and winter is coming, someone has to convince the tribe that we got to move. Right. And so it comes from this channel. It's like, hey, look, we gotta surrender to what's happening right now. Like we gotta move. It's called the channel of surrender. It's like, we got to move. We got to survive. We got to go across. And so the 26, which Cate has and Sarah has, but you have the full channel, the 26 can exaggerate things a lot. Right? They say that the 26 is like, they went fishing. They're in a bar. They're talking about like, I caught a fish that was this big. And then the 44 on the other side of it walks into a room and their hands go like this. Because the 44 kind of calls out bullshit on it, but we need people to exaggerate so that we do.
Right.
I was expecting my husband to have that, but he doesn't. Because he's like, yes, the fish was this big.
Well, he has it amplified around you,
That's funny. Yeah. Well, So, Amanda, I want to go ahead and wrap up today. So, here's my question for you. I actually did go and I noticed that you have a course that is going to be coming up. But I also just want to see, one of the things we like to do is we like to give back to our audience, give them, and you've given us a lot today. But what else could you provide, or are you providing to people that you think that our audience should know about if they want to learn more about this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I originally, when I first got into this, I felt like I told someone about it at a dinner party and then I had nowhere to push them. And so I was like, you know what? I just need to partner with my human design teacher to create a 3-part series that gives you the overview of this. And so if you want something for free, I have a quick start guide to human design that kind of gets you up and running. So here, I can even throw that.
And I actually included several of those things in the advertisement. So
Perfect.
like what
There
is
you go.
human design and things like that. But I also noticed you have a course
Right.
coming
So
up. Yeah. Do you want me to list that real quick?
yeah, I totally can. So I'll give you a quick overview. So this is going to be my first time teaching. Yeah, perfect. First time teaching human design, the system. So I do individual readings with people where I dive into your chart, where we look at the specifics, how your energy works, how to live as your true self, and how to go about the experiment. So that's an offering in and of itself. And then this is something that very much came through for me over the holidays. It was like, you know what? I'm feeling like I'm going to do this. And so we already have like 20 people coming in. It's awesome. It's starting next week on Wednesday from 4 to 5 p.m. Central Time. And it's going to be for 6 weeks where we're going to dive into each of the centers, kind of like we did in today's call, but really looking at the, what does it look like when they're defined, when they're undefined? How do other people in this call, like, how do you experience that? What is the deconditioning process of returning to true self? How does that unfold? And how do you kind of move through this? So yes, if anyone wants to join, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm very excited about it.
I'm looking at my calendar and I'm looking to sign up. So anybody wants to join us.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm keeping
Sounds
it's
awesome.
a beta, first time doing this, it's a beta program. So I was like, you know what? Pay what you want. Minimum 97. It's very approachable, very attainable. Come for one class, come for all 6 if you want. Like, I'm going to design them to be to where you're going to get value if you pop in for one or all. So it'd be awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah. That is great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I just love all of this. And so I just love you providing all of this information. And I think that this is really just a new way of thinking about things in life. And so, like Amanda said, use it, don't use it, try it out, decide that it does and doesn't fit. Whatever you decide resonates with you. But for me, it really has resonated. And so I've really been looking at the different things, and it's really helped me with some of the tactics or some of the things that I've been doing within my life. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Thanks for everyone for tuning in.
This has been amazing. And I'm so glad that you're offering this course because you need to, like, you can tell the passion that you have for it when you're talking about it. You can also, like, you can sense like you want to just dump it out. Like, even when you're talking, you have to like reserve yourself a little bit because you're like, this is going to be too much probably for this conversation, or this is, like, I'm so glad that you're going to be able to pour all of this out for folks. And I think it's going to be awesome. So I hope that I can join as well.
I would love to have y'all.
Yeah, that'd be great. And so to finish things off, Carrie said, thanks. Have a great weekend. And Cate, do you want to end us today?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Amanda. This has been a really terrific session today. I think for me, it went by the fastest of all the episodes we've had thus far. Where I've looked at the time and I've been like, shit, we have 4 minutes left. Come on. So, thank you. And for our audience, I really hope that you are intrigued and you're a little inspired and you can take this time. This new year is a perfect time to reflect on yourself and to kind of dig in. It's what the darkness is all about, so take some time to reflect and let this kind of fuel your sense of individuality and acceptance of who you truly are, so that you can be the badass that you want to be.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.